Hello and welcome to my Yugioh channel. Today we're going to be looking at the reprints which have been featured in the brand new structure deck for Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is the advent of the Eyes of Blue, which is structure deck 47. Within this set, you'll get 3 copies of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is predictable as you need all 3 copies in order to build a basic deck. It's a light dragon normal monster, level 8 with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. The legendary dragon is a powerful engine of destruction, virtually invincible. Very few have faced this awesome creature and lived to tell the tale. You get 1 copy of the Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon. This is a light attribute dragon type level 8 with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. It cannot be normal summoned or set and must first be special summoned from your hand by revealing a Blue Eyes White Dragon in your hand. You can only special summon that Blue Eyes alternative White Dragon once per turn this way. This card name becomes Blue Eyes White Dragon while on the field or in the graveyard. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy it. This card cannot attack the turn this effect is activated. It's a different version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is supposed to have a destruction-based effect in order to supplement against some of your opponent's stronger monsters that are over 3000 attack points. It does so with the limitation of being unable to attack for the rest of the turn. Blue Eyes Jet Dragon is a light attribute dragon type level 8 with 3000 attack and 0 defense. Other cards you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon once per turn, and I can only activate them while Blue Eyes White Dragon is on your field or in your graveyard. If a card on your field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your graveyard if it was there when this card was destroyed, or hand even if not. At the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. This is useful within Blue Eyes decks because firstly, it can be really easily summoned so long as you've got a Blue Eyes White Dragon and a card has been destroyed by battle or card effect. This instantly revives itself either from the graveyard or from the hand. It also forces any of these destruction-based effects to target itself before it targets any of your other monsters. Otherwise, if they do try and go for other monsters, that effect really gets negated. If at the start of the damage step a battle occurs, you're able to target a card your opponent controls and it gets to return it to the hand. So that can be an extra monster, it could be a normal monster, it could be one of their spell or trap cards, whichever you target, but it's meant to intend to disrupt what your opponent is trying to do. Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon is a light attribute dragon type level 8 with 2500 attack and 2500 defense. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 ritual spell or 1 purification from your deck to your hand. During your end phase, you can add 1 level 8 or higher dragon monster from your deck to your hand. You can banish this card from your graveyard. All level 8 or higher dragon monsters you control gain 1000 attack. You can only use each effect of Blue Eyes Abyss Dragon once per turn, and only activate them while Blue Eyes White Dragon is on your field or in your graveyard. So this card provides the unity between the fusion side of the deck and the ritual side of the deck. When it's special summoned, you can either choose the ritual spell or choose polarization that goes from your deck to the hand. When during the end phase, you can add a level 8 or higher dragon monster from your deck to your hand. So that's easy, you'll pretty much go for another Blue Eyes card, and this card can be banished from your graveyard. All your level 8 or higher dragon monsters gain 1000 attack points. These are all decent effects as they help to integrate the deck and kind of mesh it together. But bear in mind that these effects can only be present when your Blue Eyes White Dragon happens to be either on the field or in the graveyard. Dragon Spirit of White is a light attribute dragon type level 8 with 2500 attack and 2000 defense. This card is always treated as a Blue Eyes card. This card is treated as a normal monster while in the hand or graveyard. When this card is normal or special summoned, you can target 1 spell or trap card your opponent controls, banish it. If your opponent controls a monster, as a quick effect, you contribute this card, special summon 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand. This card has a decent attack points, is 2500, and it's always treated as a Blue Eyes card, regardless of where it is. It's also treated as a normal monster whilst it's either in the hand or graveyard, so there are support for normal monsters that would work in alignment with this. As soon as this card is either normal or special summoned, you can target a spell or trap card your opponent controls, and because it's banished, typically it's more difficult for your opponent to then recover those cards. And if your opponent controls a monster, you are able to tribute this card to special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon in replace of it from your hand. Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon is a dark attribute dragon type ritual effect monster. It's got 4,000 attack points and 0 defense. The effect is you can ritual summon this card with Chaos Spore. Must be ritual summoned. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict double piercing battle damage. This is an alternative version of like the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, but in a ritual form. Similar to how Dark Magician has a ritual form as well as various fusion versions, this is the equivalent for this side. 4,000 attack points is quite decent for a level 8 monster, and by using the effect of Chaos Form, it can actually just use the Blue Eyes White Dragon as its tribute requirement. This is able to protect itself from being targeted with card effects, and it also cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And in inflicting double piercing battle damage to the opponent, it's quite intense for your opponent to deal with if they've got a more defensive style of deck. Blue Eyes Chaos Dragon is a Dark Attribute Dragon type ritual effect monster. It's a level 8 with 3,000 attack and 0 defense. You can ritual summon this card with Chaos Form. Must be ritual summoned. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card was ritual summoned using a Blue Eyes White Dragon, when it declares an attack, you can change the battle positions of as many monsters your opponent controls as possible. And if you do, the attack and defense of those changed monsters become 0. Also, this turn, if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. This is meant to be like an alternative version of the Blue Eyes White Dragon, but it has quite a lot of effects to it. Chaos Form is really easy in order to use the Blue Eyes White Dragon from the deck to bring this card out, and it has protection from being targeted by card effects and being destroyed by your opponent's card effects. If this card happens to be ritual summoned using the Blue Eyes White Dragon, it gains an additional effect, and when it declares an attack, you're able to change the battle positions of as many of your opponent's monsters as they can, and their attack and defense of those monsters permanently reach 0, so they no longer are a threat. It also grants this card the ability to inflict piercing battle damage for the turn. The White Stone of Legend. This is a light attribute dragon type tuner effect monster, level 1 with 300 attack and 250 defense. If this card is sent to the graveyard, add 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. Often I've seen players who will just set this card on their first turn and then they'll pass their turn, hoping that the opponent just attacks into this to let them then search for a card. It's not the smartest idea. It's best to actually, this is effect activates whenever this card is sent to the graveyard, so if you can actually discard it through additional effects or with added other costs, then you can actually search for the Blue Eyes White Dragon on your terms rather than waiting for your opponent, who may OTK you in that turn. The White Stone of Ancients is a light attribute dragon type tuner effect monster. It's a level 1 with 600 attack and 500 defense. Once per turn during the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of the White Stone of Ancients once per turn. This card also has the ability to kind of search for a Blue Eyes monster, and it can be special summoned from the deck. By banishing this card from your graveyard, you're then able to recover a Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard and add it straight back to the hand. But a lot of this is reliant on being during the end phase, and it can be argued to be too slow of a card to rely upon. With Sage with Eyes of Blue, you get 3 copies of the card, and there's probably a reason for it. It's a light attribute spellcaster tuner effect monster. It's a level 1 with 0 attack and 1,500 defense. When this card is normal summoned, you can add 1 level 1 light tuner from your deck to your hand, except Sage with Eyes of Blue. You can discard this card and then target 1 effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon 1 Blue Eyes monster from your deck. You can only use this effect of Sage with Eyes of Blue once per turn. The purpose of this card is, as soon as this card is summoned, you are able to add a level 1 light tuner monster from your deck to hand, so it's an instant search of that. But it can also be used in conjunction with Maiden of Eyes of Blue, because by discarding this card, you're able to target an effect monster you control, and by targeting it, it then triggers off that effect to special summon really 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons from your deck. Bear in mind, this is just summoning a Blue Eyes monster from the deck, whereas the other one is specifically a Blue Eyes White Dragon. So you can have 2 different Blue Eyes monsters on the field with their own abilities and to conversely kind of dominate your field. Dictator of D is a dark attribute spellcaster type at level 4 with 1,200 attack and 1,100 defense. While you control a Blue Eyes monster, you choose the attack targets for your opponent's attacks. You can only use each of the following effects of Dictator of D once per turn. You can send one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or deck to the graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. You can discard one Blue Eyes White Dragon or one card that mentions it, then target one Blue Eyes monster in your graveyard, special summon it. This card has the ability to determine which of your cards is threatened by attacks. If you have other monsters on your field that have more attack points than this card, you'll redirect those to those monsters. But if those monsters happen to have more attacks than your other monsters, then most likely you will take the decision to try and conserve those monsters for the time being. This is able to send a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the deck graveyard, so it's usually easier to revive from the graveyard than it is to search from the deck. Just special summon this card, and you're able to discard a Blue Eyes White Dragon or a card that lists that in its name to then target a Blue Eyes monster in the graveyard, and that gets special summoned. This all adds to your field presence and to your overall advantage. Chaos Form is a ritual spell card. This effect is this card can be used to ritual summon any Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field and or banish Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician from your graveyard, whose total levels exactly equal the level of the Chaos or Blackluster Soldier ritual monster you ritual summon. The card can be used for any Chaos monsters, so that can be the Chaos Max, the Chaos Dragon, or for any of the Chaos monsters or Blackluster Soldier monsters that are used by either Yamayugi or by Seto Kaiba. You must tribute monsters from your hand or field and or banish Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magicians whose total levels equal exactly that level, so of the Chaos or Black Soldier monster that you're planning to ritual summon. So there is a hard lock on the level restrictions, whereas some more generic ritual spell cards will say, equivalent or higher levels than necessary. This has to be very fixed, and it justifies why a lot of the monsters that are in the Blue Eyes happen to be level 8 as their ritual regards. For this, you will receive 2 copies of Ultimate Fusion. This is a quick play spell card. The effect is during the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as material by shuffling fusion monsters listed on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard into the deck. Then you can destroy face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragon and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon used as a material from the field. You can only activate 1 Ultimate Fusion per turn. The purpose of this is the more of the Blue Eyes White Dragons you happen to use as part of the fusion, the more of the cards your opponent has cards destroyed. So if you can use all 3 cards, then you can wipe out 3 cards your opponent has. This being a quick play can be used during yours or the opponent's turn, which can be useful as you can then go into a Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon pretty simply, and you just have to shuffle the fusion materials that listed from the hand, field, and or graveyard, so it encompasses most things outside the banish pile. For the Melody of Awakening Dragon, you get 2 copies of this card. It is a normal spell with the effect discard 1 card, add up to 2 dragon monsters with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense from your deck to your hand. This can technically be run in most types of dragon-based decks, but it's consistent for what the Blue Eyes Dragons need within the deck, and having 2 means you have consistency of if, for example, one gets negated from its search, you always have the other one to lean back into. It's pretty much a staple at 2. Mausoleum of Light is a field spell card. Its effect is during your main phase, you can normal summon 1 level 1 light tuner monster in addition to your normal summon set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can target 1 face-up monster you control, send 1 normal monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, this targeted monster gains attack or defense equal to the level of the monster sent to the graveyard times 100 until the end of this turn, even if this card leaves the field. You can banish this card from your graveyard, add 1 burst stream of destruction from your deck to your hand. And this is meant to be the field spell for the archetype. It does add to consistency in that you're able to normal summon a level 1 light monster in conjunction with a normal summon already in the turn. You're able to, once a turn, target a face-up monster you control by sending a normal monster from your deck or hand to the graveyard. That targeted monster gains attack or defense equal to the level of the monster, so if that's a Blue Eyes White Dragon, then that monster gains 800 attack and defense until the end of the turn. That helps to boost that specific monster. And it just has to be any of your face-up monsters that you control. It doesn't have to be a specifically Blue Eyes named card. It also means that Typically, it's easier to search and recover from the graveyard than it is to revive it from and search from the deck. And when this card is banished, you get to search for a burst stream of destruction from the deck to your hand. The card's effect is just that when you have a Blue Eyes White Dragon on the field, you can wipe out all of your opponent's monsters, but the Blue Eyes White Dragon cannot attack for the rest of the turn. It's one of those named attacks of the Blue Eyes monsters, similar to Inferno Fire Blast is that for the Red Eyes Black Dragon. Dark Magic attack is the same for the Dark Magician. You have other cards which also take their naming themes based on attacks. True Light is a continuous trap card. Its effect is your opponent cannot target Blue Eyes White Dragon in your monster zone with card effects. If this face-up card is sent from the field or spell and trap zone to a graveyard, destroy all monsters you control. You can only use the following effect of a True Light once per turn. You can only activate one of these effects. Special summon one Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard. Or set one spell or trap card directly from your deck that specifically lists Blue Eyes White Dragon in its text, with a different name from the cards you control and in your graveyard. This card provides protection to your Blue Eyes White Dragons that are currently in your monster zone from card effects. Actually, they have to target this card before they go after them. But if this card happens to be removed from the field in any way, it destroys all of the monsters that you control. Same thing goes for the other card which was used by the Dark Magician's archetype. But its other abilities are this card lets you constantly special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon each turn, either from the hand or the graveyard, so you do have recurring consistency. Or you can search for a spell or trap card from your deck that has Blue Eyes White Dragon listed in its card text. The ultimate creature of destruction is a normal trap card. The effect is target one Blue Eyes monster you control. This turn, that face-up monster is unaffected by card effects its own. It cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, any opponent's monster it battles is destroyed at the end of the damage step. While this card is in your graveyard, if you normal summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of the ultimate creature of destruction once per turn. The design on this card is so that it protects your Blue Eyes monsters from being affected by card effects for a turn. It helps to preserve your monsters. It also means that those monsters cannot be threatened by either destruction-based effects, by battle, or by card effects. And it also has the ability to reoccur itself, provided you have another Blue Eyes White Dragon that happens to summon itself. It cannot use its effect on the same turn that this event actually happens of the Blue Eyes White Dragon bringing itself back, but by setting it, you then have another form of protection. Destined Rivals is a normal trap card. Its effect is if you control Blue Eyes White Dragon or Dark Magician, negate the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of this turn. You can only activate one Destined Rivals per turn. This card has to be timed quite well within whatever deck you're facing off against, as it only negates the effects of all face-up monsters your opponent currently controls at the point of this card's activation. If they do anything with those monsters to then bring extra deck monsters out, or to bring other monsters in to the field or swap them out, then this card's timing has been missed, and therefore you don't get the full benefits of this effect. You might still be negating things, but not to the maximum potential of what you need them to be. So you need to be as knowledgeable about your opponent's deck as you are your own. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a level 12 light attribute dragon type fusion monster with 4,500 attack and 3,800 attack defense points. It requires 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons as its materials. And of course, since this is a Blue Eyes structure deck, you did have to have the original fusion monster to be included. You get one copy, but that makes sense as you're not likely to go into more than that. And the other thing is, really within, if you're theming this on Seto Kaiba, he only ever ran one of these cards. Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is a light attribute dragon fusion effect monster. It's a level 12 with 4,500 attack and 3,800 defense. It requires 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons to bring it out. At the end of the damage step, if this card is the only face-up card you control and this fusion summon card attacked, you can send one Blue Eyes fusion monster from your extra deck to graveyard. This card can attack again in a row. You can only use this effect of Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon up to thrice per turn. During either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets a Blue Eyes monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. The summoning requirements on this are the same as the original Blue Eyes White Dragon with the Ultimate Dragon, but if you happen to have just this card at the end of the damage step, then by sending a Blue Eyes fusion monster, you are able to attack again, and given that you can use this effect twice, you can do up to 9,000 points of damage directly to the opponent if you can kind of already wipe out their field. It does also have the opportunity to, during either player's turn, when a card or effect is activated that targets any of your Blue Eyes monsters, by banishing this card, you get to negate and destroy that effect. Blue Eyes Twin Burst Dragon is a light attribute dragon type fusion effect monster. It's a level 10 with 3000 attack and 2500 defense. It requires 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons as its materials. Must be either fusion summoned or special summoned by sending the above monsters you control to the graveyard, in which case you do not use polymerization. Cannot be destroyed by battle. This card can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. At the end of the damage step, when this card attacks an opponent's monster, but the opponent's monster was not destroyed by the battle, you can banish that opponent's monster. This card is much easier to summon than some of the other cards, as it only requires 2 Blue Eyes White Dragons, and you can either fusion summon this with normal polarization, or if you happen to have both of these cards already on the field, you can just contact fuse into this card without needing polarization. This has immunity from being destroyed by battle, which is quite decent as a form of protection, and it can make up to 2 attacks on monsters during each battle phase. It is restricted onto monsters, so keep in mind that it's no direct attacks through this effect, and if those monsters happen to survive for whatever reason, for example, they're unable to be destroyed by battle, you are able to use the effect to then banish those cards. Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon is a light attribute dragon type fusion effect monster. It's level 8 with 3400 attack and 2900 defense. Requires a Blue Eyes White Dragon and a dragon monster, and must be either fusion summoned or special summoned from your etch deck by attributing a Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster and effect. It's unaffected by trapper cards or effects. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn at the end of damage step, if this card battles, you can target 1 trap card in your graveyard, set it to your spell and trap zone. This is meant to be similar to the Claw of Hermos, the type of the Thanacritius type of effect, which happened within the Waking of Dragons arc within the 4th season of Yu-Gi-Oh! It was very much the Tyrant Dragon type of effect, in that you have to tribute this card with it being equipped with a fusion monster, so that's pretty easy to do, and must be either a Blue Eyes White Dragon and a dragon monster through polymerization. It's unaffected by trapper cards or effects, so it does have quite a significant immunity to it. You almost have to have monsters that are higher in attack points than this to wipe it out. And this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, so that very much reflects what the Tyrant Wing effect had when it was equipped with the Blue Eyes in the anime. And at the end of the damage step, provided this card battles, you are then able to take a trap card in your graveyard and then reset it to your spell and trap zone, so you can constantly reoccur trap cards. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon is a light attribute dragon type synchro effect monster. It's a level 9 with 2500 attack and 3000 defense. It requires a tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Blue Eyes monsters. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time. Once per turn during either player's turn, when the effect of a card in the graveyard is activated, you can evade the activation during either player's turn. You can attribute this synchro summoned card, special 1 light dragon type synchro monster from your etch deck in defense position, except Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon, but destroy it during the end phase of this turn. The summoning requirement needs a tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner Blue Eyes monsters, so that's perfectly decent. For a level 9 monster, you're most likely just going to need the tuner monster and the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time, so that means that kind of limits the effects of the pendulum monsters to pendulum summon. That's a restriction on it, but it does restrict you as well. Most likely it's not going to hit you as bad as the pendulum player. Once per turn, when an effect of the card in the graveyard is activated, you can just shut that card down, so you can prevent graveyard-based effects from activating, and that can be quite difficult for your opponent to get over. And during either player's turn, you can just tribute this synchro summon card. You can special summon a light dragon type synchro monster from the extract in defense position. That includes the ultimate version of itself, which is the Blue Eyes Ultimate kind of Spirit Dragon. But bear in mind that it is destroyed during the end phase of this turn, so you are going to have to use those cards wisely. The Blue Eyes Silver Dragon is a light attribute dragon type synchro effect monster. It's a level 9 with 2500 attack and 3000 defense. Requires 1 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuner normal monsters. If this card is special summoned until the end of the next turn, neither player can target dragon monsters you currently control. card effects. Also, they cannot be destroyed by card effects. Once returned during your standby phase, you can target one normal monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So with this card, you can easily bring it out. It just needs one tuna monster and a Blue Eyes White Dragon. That's fine, that meets the conditions to bring out a level 9. When this card is specialed, until the end of the next turn, the player can target dragon monsters with card effects, so that provides an immunity for your dragon monsters and they cannot be destroyed by those card effects. It also means that once during your standby phase, you can continually revive a normal monster in your graveyard. Typically, that is going to be the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is a consistent way of kind of keeping your field present and quite dominating. This currently reflects what has been received within the reprints that we've got within the set. I'm highly unlikely to get any other reprints on these cards, as this pretty much covered most of the old cards. Instead, I would look forward to seeing brand new cards and what they can do and which direction they're aiming to send the deck towards. As always, I'd love to hear your opinions in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video, it really helps support the channel, and it'd be great if you could subscribe. Thank you.